With the departure of manufacturing, Geelong is on a quest to fill its neglected buildings with new enterprises. My visit to the RS&S mills revealed a thriving example of living heritage.
It was built for the returned soldiers after the First World War, for something for them to do.
Next is Geelong's future to be found inside the industrial buildings of yesterday.
So for me, it's not just having fun opening up a place like this, it's continuing the family tradition, but also getting back some of that family history as well.
I'm on the site of the old federal woolen mills. 100 years ago, this was perhaps the most technologically advanced textile mill in the world. All electric, designed with natural light and ventilation in mind, its workers enjoyed some of the most progressive employment policies of the day. This site is 28,000 square metres with dozens of individual buildings all in need of attention. It's been 20 years since the Federal Mills closed and its redevelopment hasn't been easy. The energy to turn it around has come from Cameron Hamilton.
It was pretty much a wreck when we first got here. I reckon it would have had about another decade in it before it really started falling apart. It was a bit of a dump. Back then there was rubbish piled up to the trusses, so we got rid of a couple of hundred mattresses, lost count of the amount of tyres, a lot of wood, glass, everything you can think of. So it took us about 12 months to clean it up.
Abandoned buildings are a clear signal that all is not well, and breathing life back into them isn't easy, even for an experienced heritage developer.
Yes, and nothing straightforward. See, the problem with the heritage listed buildings is you've got to come up with plans before you see what the problems are. And if you can't go up and pull it down and inspect what's there first, it's very hard to provide those details.
Fortunately, Cameron has been able to draw on more than one generation of heritage development experience.
My father and I started the company. My father was involved in various properties for about the last 20 years.
Yep.
He started with an old wool store in Geelong there, which is now home to Deakin actually. So,
oh, really?
Yes, believe it or not, we're all accountants.
Yeah,
so,
I'm totally up for that.
Dad was an accountant, I'm an accountant. I always was involved in the buildings from early age. When he purchased the main old woolen mill in Pakenham Street in, I believe it was 95. I was in there whilst I was still in school, and I was unblocking toilets and helping fix leaks, and we didn't have our team of 30 odd guys at that stage, so a lot of the maintenance tasks were sort of left up to us.
Yep.
But really from an accounting background, and that's where the sort of numbers help me sort of look at these sites, and I look at what can be spent and where we need to hit, what numbers we need to hit to make it work financially.
This coherent financial strategy is helping reintegrate a vast site into the community.
We're finding the interest is definitely there. We had a big advertising budget for the site and all the rest of it, which haven't used any of it. The site's becoming a magnet in itself, which is quite strange, and it's just due to the fact that the buildings and all the character they have.
To find out why people have leased space in the Federal Mills, I talked to some of Cameron's tenants. Arrow HQ is a co-working space designed by founder Lulu Reid.
It just went boom overnight. The beautiful natural light and the beautiful old buildings with all the charm and character that it has. So we walked in the door and we just went, this is it for us. Since we've been here, Tribal have opened up a massive office, Container are there. Yeah. The Federal is open. A lot of people walking past, a lot of people sort of seeing your signage and going, oh, I wonder what that is. These kind of precincts are key to creating new life in Geelong. So having places like the Federal Wool Mills being redeveloped and having new spaces like, our kind of space where it's a co-working space, and also having this community of really young. There's so many young people and entrepreneurs and start-up businesses that are really clever.
Yeah.
Geelong's actually a really cool place to be right now. There's so much growth.
Just across the site, I meet Max Bush, co-founder of startup company Fisho, an app for the recreational fishing community.
The warehouse feel, the big open spaces, sort of has that fun Silicon Valley type feel, and it gives us a voice to sort of go, come check out Fed Mills, see all the startups out there, see the tech companies. In the younger community, I guess we're all about technology these days. We've grown up with it, and by having a home for technology and startups and a place that we can all congregate, not be isolated and be alone, it gives us a home to come to. It starts not becoming so daunting and isolating. Where you compare that to Melbourne or something like that, you're a small fish in a big pond. Yeah. Where in Geelong, you're a big fish in a little pond.
Just one of the many startups here, Fisho is being nurtured by Runway Geelong.
Runway is an umbrella initiative that supports startups, and we're here in regional Victoria. We're helping startups to launch. The flexibility and everything that we get from this space as well helps with the startups that we have within the space. That flexibility is a key part of entrepreneurship, because if you think that you really do know how it's going to work and you're really regimented about that, you're probably not going to succeed. It's about agility, and we call it pivot, and Geelong itself was once called and is known as the Pivot City. And this site here is a key part of the history of the Pivot City. In a lot of ways, the Fed Mills is a physical representation of the Pivot City and what we're doing here. And so that sort of plays into why we're here, but it's also a fantastic site.
Nick, Max and Lulu are each adding a new layer of history to the Federal Mills. Buildings provide continuity across generations, and this is especially so at the Federal Cafe, managed by Natalie Moosey.
I mean, look around you, the history of the place. The walls speak so much. Yeah. And it was like, oh my goodness, I think we could do something really, really special for Geelong. I'm actually a scientist by trade, but my family has been in hospitality since the 50s and 60s. Yeah. Migrated from Lebanon and came to Geelong, and they set up Kit Kat, the Lynette, the Colony, the top of the town. These were icons of the 1950s and 60s. And this is where people went to go out at night, and that was their social scene in Geelong. So many customers coming in telling us it's so good to hear your name again in the town. Yeah. It's so good to see you guys again. My dad passed away in 2001, and he loved this town so, so much and regretted moving. And I said to the people that are coming in, I said, you've given me a piece of him back, because they're coming with all the stories of what they all did. And I said, you've given a piece of him back. So for me, it's not just having fun opening up a place like this, it's continuing the family tradition, but also getting back some of that family history as well.
Restoring these buildings was a business decision, and it seems to be paying off. But it's more than that. It's inspiring personal reconnections with the region.
Yeah, look, as Geelong goes through the transformation, I think these sites play a crucial role in, I suppose, retaining the history of how this town was developed and how it sort of came to be, with the, Ford and Alcoa and the Federal Woollen Mills here, and, these big buildings were built to support these, emerging industries of the time, and, if we can then, put new emerging industries back into there, I think it sort of comes full circle, and I think it tells a really good story and shows the resilience of the town like Geelong.
So what's it like when people visit you here?
It's great. They're amazed by the space. Yeah. They sort of walk in and go, whoa, I never knew this was here.
Taking on this was very different for me. I took on a lease. Normally I'm the person who actually just does the fit out, hands it over, there you go.
No traffic jams, 2 minutes to and from work and that sort of stuff. And 10 minutes from the beach.
In the final instalment, I visit an extraordinary hidden treasure.
This is very early industrial that got left behind.
What I've always referred to it as an industrial cathedral.
If you can love a building, I love the building. Yeah.
You can definitely love a building.
My name is Frank Costa, born and bred in Geelong, grew up here. My business has been the distribution of fresh produce to all of the major chains all over Australia and overseas as well. I've kept my base in Geelong. Having grown up here, I found it was such a good place to live. I got married here, raised my family here, and encouraged all my daughters to stay here. So of the 8 girls, 7 of them are living in and around Geelong. 1 lives in Melbourne. They're all pretty close, and we all get together at Christmas time and have a lot of fun. But there's many reasons why I prefer to stay in Geelong to raise a family. I think it's the best place in Australia. Health services are fabulous in Geelong. Education, terrific. Primary, secondary, tertiary, it's all very, very good here. Cost of housing here is much cheaper than Melbourne. Commuting from point A to point B is easy here. If we can't park right outside where we want to go, we feel we've been poorly done by it, unlike Melbourne. So there's many reasons. And Melbourne, which is a beautiful capital city, is easy access for us. Within an hour we can be in Melbourne. I don't think you could ask for anything better than that. That's why I stayed here, that's why I encourage my 8 daughters to live here, and our grandchildren the same. So we all love it.